It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed. Your eyes are open. Your phone is glowing in your hand. You tell yourself something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. Your ancestors weren't sleeping through the night either. For most of human history, waking up at 2 a.m. wasn't a disorder. It was Tuesday. Think about that for a second. Every culture on Earth today treats 8 unbroken hours of sleep as the gold standard. Doctors recommend it. Apps track it. Failing to hit it feels like a personal failure. But where did that number even come from? Not from biology, from factories. Historian A. Roger Ekirch spent over a decade digging through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. What he found changed how scientists think about sleep entirely. Before artificial light flooded the night, people didn't sleep in one long block. They slept in two. The first sleep began shortly after dusk. People would lie down, drift off, and sleep for 3 or 4 hours. Then, somewhere around midnight, they would simply wake up. Not in a panic, not checking a clock. They would wake up the way you wake up from a nap. Calm, alert, awake. This waking period had a name, the watch. People used it to pray, to talk quietly with a partner, to mend tools, to think. Some had sex. Some just lay in the dark, listening to the house settle. After an hour or two, a second sleep would follow, carrying them through to dawn. Doesn't that sound familiar? That stretch of restless wakefulness you call insomnia might be a fossil. A leftover instinct from a sleep pattern your body still remembers, even though your schedule no longer allows it. So why did we abandon it? Light is the short answer. Cheap, abundant artificial light. Gas lamps, then electric bulbs, pushed bedtimes later and later. As the night shrank, the gap between the two sleeps shrank too, until it collapsed into a single block. By the early 1900s, segmented sleep had almost vanished from cultural memory. Within a few generations, an entire pattern of human rest simply disappeared, and nobody noticed it was gone. But here's where it gets stranger. This wasn't just a guess based on old diaries. It was tested in a lab. In the early 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Ware, working at the National Institute of Mental Health, ran an experiment that quietly rewrote what we thought we knew about sleep. He took a group of volunteers and placed them in an environment with 14 hours of darkness every night, mimicking the long winter nights our ancestors lived through before electricity. No clocks, no light pollution, no artificial cues at all. What happened next took weeks to unfold. At first, the volunteers slept long and chaotically, as if paying off a debt accumulated over years of modern light exposure. But by the 4th week, something remarkable settled into place. Their sleep split, on its own, without instruction, into 2 distinct blocks, separated by 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night.
Their bodies hadn't forgotten. They had just never been given the darkness required to remember. Now ask yourself something. When you wake at 2 a.m. and lie there in mild dread, scrolling, checking the time, what if that dread is the actual problem, not the waking itself? There's research that points exactly there. Sleep scientist Jerome Siegel at UCLA studies sleep in some of the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, including the Hadza of Tanzania and the San of Namibia, groups whose lives still resemble, in broad strokes, how humans lived for the vast majority of our existence. His findings were surprising in a different direction. These groups don't show clear evidence of segmented sleep like Ekirch's European diaries describe, but they also don't sleep 8 rigid hours either. Their sleep is loose, flexible, tied to temperature and darkness, not to an alarm clock or a cultural rule about bedtime. What both lines of research agree on is this. Rigid, anxious, clock-watching sleep is not the ancient default. It's a modern invention, layered on top of bodies that evolved for something far more elastic. So why does waking at night feel like failure now, when it might once have felt like nothing at all? Anthropologist Carol Worthman, who has spent decades studying sleep across cultures at Emory University, has argued that the way we sleep is shaped far more by environment and society than by biology alone. In many traditional societies, people sleep in groups, near fires, with constant low-level noise and movement. Waking briefly during the night isn't disruptive in that setting. It's barely noticed. There's no isolated bedroom, no silence, no pressure to fall back asleep within a fixed window, or else. Compare that to your bedroom. Dark, silent, alone, climate-controlled into total stillness. If you wake up in that kind of silence, your brain has nothing to do but notice the silence and worry about it. The waking isn't the strange part. The aloneness is. There's a deeper twist hiding underneath all of this. Some researchers believe the long, uninterrupted block of darkness our ancestors lived inside wasn't just about sleep. The watch, that quiet hour of wakefulness in the middle of the night, may have served a psychological function, a built-in pause, time to process the day, time to sit with fear, grief, or longing without the distractions of daylight life. Some historians have linked this nightly gap to spiritual practice, since prayer, meditation, and quiet reflection so often happen during it. Modern life deleted that pause. We replaced it with sleep aids, blackout curtains, and the demand that the night be a single, unbroken silence from the moment your head hits the pillow until the alarm goes off. And when your body resists that demand, when it tries to insert its ancient pause back in, you call it a disorder. What if it isn't? This doesn't mean insomnia isn't real, or that chronic sleep disruption isn't worth taking seriously. It is. But there's a difference between a body that's broken and a body that's remembering. The dread you feel at 2 a.m. might not be a malfunction. It might be a mismatch between a rhythm your body still half expects and a world that no longer makes room for it. So tonight, if you wake up in the dark and your mind starts running, try something different. Don't reach for your phone. Don't check the time. Just lie there, the way your ancestors once did, in that quiet watch between the first sleep and the second. Let the thoughts move through you instead of away from you. It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed. Your eyes are open. This time, you know exactly why.